After a halfway decent minigame compilation, a fun and unique party game, and a crappy kart racer, I've decided to grab another handful of Muppets games and see how it goes. So sit back, relax, and let's see if we can find an even better one, starting with Muppet Adventure Chaos at the Carnival for the NES. The plot, if you can even call it that, is as straightforward as it possibly could be. Miss Piggy is kidnapped and the other Muppets have to save her. There's 4 Carnival games, each one has a key, and once all 4 keys are collected, I assume they rescue her, but I haven't gotten that far. Now I know 4 minigames doesn't sound like a lot, and it isn't, but believe me when I say, beating all of them is brutal, and after a few super unfair game overs, I see no reason to play any further. In the first game, you play as Kermit and ride down a river, doing your best to avoid whatever may come in your way. It's definitely the best of the bunch, but not even close to good. In the second, you play as Animal and drive through an obnoxious obstacle course. This one sucks, but I've been able to complete it a couple times. In the third, you play as Gonzo and control some spaceship that's super uncomfortable to control, but is somewhat manageable in the beginning section, but then it expects you to navigate tight corridors while a bunch of enemies are shooting at you, and I just can't do it. I managed to beat the first 2, but this is where I threw the towel. I tried the fourth one just to see if it was any better, and it isn't. You move Fozzie around a maze and collect a few presents while avoiding enemies. That's it, but it doesn't seem to stop. I played it for a decent chunk of time and it kept going, so screw it. None of these games are fun, like, in the slightest. They're all a buggy nightmare littered with game-breaking glitches and designs. They don't look good, even for the time, and the music isn't anything special but will get stuck in your head. Don't play it. Next up, Muppet Monster Adventure for the PlayStation 1. This game actually looks promising. It's an open-world collectathon on the PS1 and is the only Muppet game that's not either a minigame compilation or entirely multiplayer-focused. It's a single-player story game. Too bad it isn't good. I have to admit, I haven't beat it. It's really long. I beat the first chunk of levels, but was then told I needed to go back to previous levels because I was missing some collectibles, and there's no way I'm doing that. It's not difficult, it's just so boring and bland. So, the Muppets went to some old castle that belongs to Dr. Honeydew's uncle for the reading of his will, and all things go wrong. When they go to enter, some monster greets them and Robin, Kermit's nephew, passes out and the screen goes black. We then cut to him waking up and being told that most of the Muppets were turned into monsters and everything in the area is turning evil. They then tell him he's gotta turn everyone back to normal and save the village using some glove that sucks the evil out of things and stores it in a backpack, and thus, our amphibian hero sets forth on his epic quest. The story works and sets the game up fine. It just really sucks that the only characters that weren't turned into monsters are some of my least favorite Muppets. Like, Robin's fine, but why not Kermit? I would have loved that, and out of all the Muppets they could have used as a helper along the way, they chose Pepe. His voice gets super annoying super quick. Once you start talking to him, he doesn't stop. Even if you rush through the dialogue box and move on with the level, he doesn't stop talking.
To rescue Kermit and the rest of our friends. When you see my receiver, come up and hear what I have to say. Don't be shy, okay?
And speaking of annoying, the music. It's pretty bad and really loud. This first level is so bright and lively, and the music is like... I don't get it. I ended up muting the game after the first few minutes. Anyways, the game's entirely focused on collecting, and that's not really a bad thing. The levels are relatively open, and there's a couple collectibles scattered throughout. Evil energy that's needed to unlock the next area, and Muppet tokens which are needed to open new worlds. There's also character amulet pieces that, upon collecting the required amount, give you a new ability that's needed to progress further in the level and collect more stuff, like these bat wings and these strange clawed hands. Whenever you come to a place you can use one of these abilities, the character's icon appears in the top right corner of the screen, which doesn't work that well all the time. For the walls you can climb, it hardly shows up, but every time the wings can be used, aka every time you jump, it pops up just fine. It's so dumb, it's kind of funny. Like, why does it do this? So let's talk about how Robin controls. He can jump, spin attack, and use his vacuum hand thing. That's pretty much it for his standard moveset. Eventually, he can push large boxes, dive underwater, and like I said before, climb and glide. I really wish he had a double jump. It would make some of the poorly made platforming in this game way easier, but it's fine, the wings help enough with that sometimes. Oh, he can also run, but the game refuses to tell you this. They have a tutorial for breaking the crates, which is done by pressing circle, but not for running, which you have to hold R1 to do. My entire first playthrough of the first level, I walked at this super slow pace until I reached this one part where you have to race this peacock, and it was destroying me every time. To activate this mission, it says press X to go or press triangle if you forgot your running shoes, so I thought, oh, that must be an upgrade, I should go find that. But no! After exploring for another 20 minutes, I came back to try again because I found nothing and I lost again, so I started experimenting. It seemed like he moved a little faster when he was spinning, so I kid you not, I spammed circle the entire race and tried to stay right in front of him so he would push me ahead, and I have no idea how, but it worked. This Peacock dude is fast. Even when you figure out how to run, like I did 2 minutes after winning, the race is pretty close. And the run itself is stupid. When you hold the button, you automatically run forward. In most games, I would just hold the run button and play, but it's impossible to here. He doesn't stop running, it's dumb. I can't tell you how many times I died trying to move the camera with R2 and accidentally pressing R1 and running to my demise. It sucks. But being able to move the camera is a pretty nice thing that I appreciate being here. So yeah, I really don't like how the game plays. I think the first level was fine enough, but after that, the game picks up in difficulty and jank. There's a huge enemy that stands in just about every doorway you have to go through, and checkpoints are very scarce. I died a lot, and when you get a game over, you have to restart the entire level. How about platforming? Does that work well? It feels about as good as some other platformers of the time, for better and for worse. The shadows cooperate for the most part, but the lack of a double jump really sucks, but again, gliding helps counteract that. The gameplay reminds me a lot of Jimmy Neutron Boy Genius, and good god I despise that game. I don't think this is as low quality though. Robin's got more upgrades than Jimmy ever had that make playing a lot easier. And plus, you can move the camera, which I hate is missing in Jimmy Neutron. Platforming takes a backseat to collecting and exploring in this game, so camera control is a necessity. That's a very low bar to compare it to, but at least it's better. I'd put it at the same level as SpongeBob Revenge of the Flying Dutchman. I'd say they're pretty even with all things considered. Minimum requirements really hurt this game though. While the evil energy thing was okay, as I collected enough to progress every time, the Muppet token requirements suck. There's 15 scattered around the first 3 levels, and you need 12 to progress. After I beat the first 3 levels, I only had 6. There's no way I'm going back to previous areas and searching around. It isn't worth it to continue playing this lackluster game. So, as the only true Muppet adventure game, it's disappointing to see how flawed it really is. Do I recommend you go and play this? Well, if you love the Muppets and are dying for a full-fledged Muppets game, this does the job. Playing it today feels very bad, but for the time it was just mediocre, unoriginal, and uninspired. I've seen this game before, and I've seen it done way better. I don't think it's worth jumping through all the hoops to get though. It's a PlayStation 1 exclusive, it came out near the end of its life, and it did not sell well. Most of the copies on eBay are PAL region, and I really tried to get an NTSC copy of the game, but even when I found an auction for one disc only, it shot up to $50 in the final hour, and there's no way I'm paying that. So, emulation it is. At that price, there's infinite great platform games. It's ridiculous to spend that much on this. I used my PlayStation 1 Classic controller and got a pretty authentic feel of the game. These things are only 20 bucks and give you 2 USB PS1 controllers. Why not? Sure, the console sucks, but it's a nice decorative coaster. So if you really have your heart set on playing this game, do so on your computer. And last but not least, Spy Muppets, licensed to Croak for the Game Boy Advance. So, Agent Kermit is told that the other Muppets are up to some bad stuff and he's gotta stop their master plan. Then you pick which evil Muppet you want to take on first in the most needless and unnecessary way. Like, this is stupid. You gotta turn all 6 buttons to the color that represents the villain you want to take on. It's pointless. Once you pick one, you're brought through a series of minigames that are almost all boring. Fix the vehicle by selecting the right stuff, ride the vehicle in the most unfun way and follow the villain, infiltrate their base by completing some annoying minigame, then fight a boring boss. Do that 3 times and end the wrath of all 3 Muppets, then gasp! Bunsen and Beaker weren't real? It was Statler and Waldorf trying to take over the world. Who could have seen that coming? Actually, Kermit. He pointed out multiple times that they were acting off, but gasp regardless. The final boss against this robot sucks too, and that's the game. It's similar to Muppets On With the Show in the sense that it's broken into minigames, but that was structured like an episode of the show, and here it just feels lazy. I beat On With the Show in about 15 minutes, and this one took me 30, so congrats on being about twice as long, but where that game had some fun minigames within, this one has none that are noteworthy. They're genuinely boring. This game's not good, it's pretty terrible. That was depressing. None of those were stunning in the slightest. I wasn't expecting much, but geez, those were bad. But regardless, after playing all these Muppets games, pretty much every one I could find, here's my final ranking of all of them. At number 6, the title of the worst Muppets game goes to, unsurprisingly, Muppet Adventure Chaos at the Carnival for being the most broken, unpolished, and poorly made game of the bunch. It only gets better from here. Number 5 is Spy Muppets Licensed to Croak. It's not fun, but it's not broken. I was just unable to find joy in it. Number 4 is Muppet Race Mania for being an unoriginal and crappy kart racer. Number 3 is Muppet Monster Adventure for being a less than mediocre game at the time that's hard to play today, but is the most ambitious and full Muppets game we've had yet. Number 2 is Muppets On with the Show for being an ideal Muppets game. It's structured like an episode of the show and has some fun minigames. And number 1, the title of the best Muppets game goes to, of course, Muppets Party Cruise, which is an incredible party game that should not only be picked up by Muppets fans, but also by those who love multiplayer games or have any interest in Mario Party alternatives. Not enough people talk about this game, and it's a shame. It's a phenomenal video game that deserves a spot on everyone's game shelf. I looked at it in the first Muppets Games video, but I plan to dedicate an entire video to it at a later date, so look forward to that. Anyways, thank you so much for watching this video. If you like what you see, leave a like, and if you want to see more and help the channel grow, please subscribe. I really appreciate it. Also, if you're interested in the first Muppets Games video, I linked it up here for your viewing pleasure. Note that the video is the first one I ever posted, and it's cringy as all hell, but I hope you enjoy it. I posted it exactly 2 years ago as of the day this is premiering, and it recently broke 1,000 views, so the timing for the sequel is pretty perfect. If you've got any feedback or recommendations for me, feel free to let me know in the comments. I would really appreciate it. And if you know of any other Muppets games, drop those down in the comments as well, and I'll consider doing a part 3. That's not a promise, but we'll see. Thanks again for watching, everyone. I'll catch you in the next one.